All right, so this is basically your recycling of
Well, yes, recycling is central to a lifestyle that you choose to be, you know, clean and healthy.
and sustainable.
And sustainable,
Yes.
yes. So it basically starts in the kitchen. You have to, it's a mindset. You have to learn how to daily separate your waste. So we have a series of smaller bins in the kitchen where we separate the waste first of all. We have tin cans, you know, when you cut open food, and plastic and paper, and all of them get separated there. It becomes a lifestyle. You get used to it, and pretty soon you're not even aware that's what you're doing.
How many bins do you have in your kitchen?
4 bins.
So you've got
for the basics.
So you've got tins, paper, plastic,
and glass.
and glass. And then obviously you've got organics. So
Well, yes, the organics is interesting because at my back door there I have a lovely worm farm.
okay.
So
your
we like
organics
to
go into your worm
juice.
farm.
That's it. So we
We're gonna
really
look at
like
that in
to
a minute.
juice and cook a lot of vegetables. So all of those peels go into the worm farm. The ones that cannot be used there, and also the outside organic material such as clippings, you know, from shrubs or from the lawn,
Yes.
they go into the compost heap. So there's an even distribution.
This system that you've got here, then obviously these plastics get sent off to recyclable units.
Yeah. But we thought it was too much of a schlep to do that on a weekly or monthly basis.
Yes.
So, you know, my husband decided to go big. And we have these drums and we fill them up. Once they are filled, then we call the guys in or we take it away.
And they go to go. Can we go and have a look at your worm farm?
That's wonderful. This is our worm farm. We love our worms and they love all the waste that we have in the kitchen. It has 2 layers, and the bottom layer is where we collect the worm tea. So let me show you, we're in the first layer. The worms are eating away there. And once that is filled and totally worked through, then we'll start with the second layer. The worm tea looks a little bit like this. That's the worm tea, and we collect quite a bit. So what you do with the worm tea is we take a 1/4 cup to a liter, and we just mix it with water.
And feed that to your vegetables.
Yes. Spray it. You can spray it onto the vegetables. It's very good to keep insects away, but it also feeds the root system, feeds the plants. It's wonderful.
And then what is the system in the corner that you've got?
Oh, that is the backup system for us. We use it in conjunction with the worm tea. It's a bokashi system. So, you know, the bokashi is wood chips that is impregnated with EM.
Okay.
And you put that in with water, and all the organisms start growing, and we have a tap over it, and then we, you know, pour it out much like the worm tea, and use it on the plants.
Okay, so it's also an addition for your crops.
That's it. Microbes that they love, that enhances the flavor and the health of your vegetables.
Okay, and then of course what doesn't go in here goes into your compost heaps.
Correct, yes. There are certain things that you cannot put into a worm farm. For instance, citrus peels, you don't want a sour system. So, onions, for instance, you can't put that in. But basically the rougher things that we can't put in here, we put in the compost.
And those, you've got quite a few compost heaps spread throughout your garden.
Yes, I like to keep it compact, small, but more of them. So I keep one up at my vegetable patch, where all the cuttings that we make and the things that we pull out go straight in there. Then we have one for the garden lawn clippings, and in between we layer it as well, of course, with manure. So we have different ones. The ones that break down slower goes in a separate system. That's more for the wood clippings.
Okay.
You know,
the coarser grain.
branches, yes, that we cut down into small pieces.
Let's go and have a quick look at those.
Okay.
So this is the compost heap for lawn clippings and your coarser grain stuff.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And
We keep it in the shade, of course.
Okay.
Yes, and we water it regularly. This is now fresh,
Yes.
yesterday's clippings. So we give it a little time to break down, and then we'll spread it, and then of course we turn it over.
Yes. Okay.
This compost heap is for the cuttings from the vegetable garden mostly, and it's open at the bottom so that when water runs in or it rains, the water runs out again.
So the barrel is just really a container.
That's right. It's just a smallish container that is feasible for me in this setup.
So basically, from the water collection system, your grey water and your fresh water system then goes through your tanks, is enriched. That gets pumped up here and is used in your fantastic vegetable garden, along with the worm tea and other bionics that you then bring in, natural bodies, and use in your permaculture, which I believe that you're quite an expert in this field.
Well, I would like to become more of an expert. I think one can always keep on learning.
Yeah.
But my passion is herbs and growing food, so I have written a couple of books about herbs. Yes,
Indeed, you have, and very successfully. And so, tell us, what have you got in this fantastic little garden?
Well, as you can see, it changes every so often.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing. So currently we have pumpkins, butternuts growing beautifully.
Look at the size of those leaves.
Yes, yes. And I just leave them to go wherever they please, you know, because we harvest such a lot of them. But you'll see that we have also small seedlings currently.
Yeah.
And they're little tiny to zoom in on at the moment. But I like to plant my vegetables and my herbs in between one another.
Right.
Also, as you will notice, that we put down hay.
A lot of mulch, eh?
Yes,
Yeah.
mulching with the hay. And that's the permaculture way. You actually farm the soil.
Right.
You want to enrich the soil all the time,
Yeah.
feed it.
Yeah.
So the soil feeds the plants. So what do we do with the plants once they finish their cycle?
Yeah.
We cut them off, they go back in via the compost
Yes.
to come back to the soil again.
And re-enrich.
Yes. We also do companion planting, for instance, where the plants have an interrelationship, you know, and they feed one another, they sustain one another.
Talking like the marigold and the...
Yes, yes, yes. The marigolds are part of that, and the calendulas, because they distract the insect life, you see. And what happens is, you would say, one plant gives to the soil a certain nutrient and takes out of the soil certain nutrients. Another plant uses other nutrients from the soil, puts back other nutrients.
Yes.
So you want to have a mix. That's a communal system.
Okay.
Much like what we want the earth to become.
And really, from this garden, you sustain, well, certainly vegetable-wise, you sustain your family basically during the summer months.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah.
We do buy the odd thing that that we are very spoiled to have in the shops, but we try to eat a lot from the garden, especially green things, juicing.
What's so fantastic is that when you're looking at this, you're saying this is a normal urban household, you know what I mean, the size of it and things like that, and nothing has to, we have this image of, if we're going to have a vegetable garden to feed us, it's going to have to be the size of a farm, but it really doesn't if it's done properly.
No.
You've got it all here.
Because you do it in cycles. You constantly keep sowing new things in between the other things, and harvesting the grown produce.
Give us quickly the names of your books that are online that we can get hold of for this.
It's a range of 6 books called Tiny Tips. So there's a Tiny Tips for Miss Rosemary and Lady Lavender, Senora Sage. I've named them, they're personal to me. And Laird Thyme, and which is the other one? Master Mint and Count Coriander.
Okay, lovely. So those books will help us in getting into this whole...
Yes, to learn more about the interaction between herbs and vegetables and how to use it. You see, most people have no idea. They get given a little plant that people buy from a nursery, and what do they do with it? How can you use it? So you want some culinary uses, you want some cosmetic uses.
I mean, really the basic of all this thing is that knowledge is the key to all this.
That's right.
And I think that what you guys have done here is use an intense knowledge of a subject that you've had to learn as you've gone along.
Thank goodness for the internet.
Yeah, but it is all available on internet and through people like you, so
The one thing I would like to really bring into focus here is the way we work. It's a slower system than a farming system, because what we try to do is harvest the seeds. So whenever I have a crop, say for instance of carrots growing, I always keep a plant or two to go to seed. The reasoning behind it is your seed that grows well in your vegetable patch is already climatized. It's got, yes, it's ready made for the weather and the circumstances and the insects. So if you can harvest your own seeds, it has a better chance of flourishing next season.
Well, it's part of your self-sustainable system.
That's it. I kept some of mine, as you can see over there. We've got coriander going to seed now, and we've got the carrots. And yes, so to me, I don't mind the messiness, the messy look of things. If I have to go and search and find these little plants of mine, then just think what a hard time the insects have of finding them.
Okay, lovely.
Let me show you what I do. Here, for instance, I have some herbs growing in between the roses.
Yeah.
Your lavender, and I've got catnip and the mint species and horseradish. All of them grow happily in between the roses. But one would think that you have only ornamental plants in a garden. To me, there is no difference between an ornamental plant, a medicinal plant, a food plant. Plants have so many uses. Let's look at a rose, for instance. You see, it's beautiful to look at.
Yep.
But you use the rose hips for so many things.
Right.
Medicine.
Right.
They make a rose hip tea.
Okay, yes, of course,
Yes.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And that's rich in folic acid, all the things you need for winter.
So you use your entire garden?
Yes. And of course the roses itself, the leaves, we use it for culinary purposes. Rose water, leaves.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all of this information, a lot of it anyway, we can certainly glean from your books.
That's right, yeah. It shows the interaction of living systems, because we never have to, you mustn't forget that everything that we showed you today, they are living systems that are interacting with one another and influencing one another.
Yeah.
And then you put in the human component. We are part of the system.
All right.
We are not separate of these systems.
Basically,
we influence them.
Basically, your entire system is interlocked between each other. Every system helps the next one, which helps the next one, which then at the end goes back to the beginning again.
That's right.
So it's a complete circle.
Complete circle. And of course, then, you know, that is the thing that can sustain us, is knowledge of these systems. We have to learn. But the learning doesn't have to come only from knowledge-based, you know, what you can find on the internet, the cut and dry mechanics of it. The learning is on so many levels.
Yes.
The learning happens when we make a mindset change, when we decide we want to be part of a solution because we cannot carry on doing what we're doing.
I mean, basically this whole thing stems down to you've got to make a decision, and the decision is I want to move in that direction. Once you've made that decision, what we can see here is that it's possible.
Because you have to use your will. Most people don't have the will. They see the green things happening around them. They think it's nice. They think it's wow to use green products, and you know, but it's all a surface thing. Once you realize that you as a single person have to change things in this life and change your lifestyle so that you become part of the solution, then you are willing to do that. Do what it takes. Make the changes.
Adele, I want to thank you and Leon very much for letting us in.
No,
I think it's fantastic. And I think you've made it be very understandable for us. So thanks so much for letting us in.
That's a pleasure.